Hello, friends, English language speakers. Today I bring a subject which in fact is an expression, genetics, genetics urticaria, or genetics hives, which means or should mean that they have urticaria, and the doctor told them that it has a genetics origin. It's a genetic disease named urticaria. And because its genetics cannot be cured, never. So I'm here to clarify, because many people come to me with this subject totally frightened, totally worried, because they want to know if this is true. So I'm going to explain everything. In fact, there is no genetic urticaria. What exists are genetic diseases that can have urticaria as a symptom or as a consequence. I'm going to give 3 names. For example, the falciform anemia is a genetic disease, which means that the red blood cells, when they are normal, they have a round format. But on the falciform anemia, they have a deficient format, like it was half of moon, So what goes is that those red blood cells, they cannot penetrate in some body structures, and also in the contact with other cells is deficient. So they are not able to transport so well the nutrients and the oxygen as a round format, normal red blood cell. So I have one case from many that I have just one case that have urticaria and falciform anemia, which is a very small number compared with the hundreds of people that come to me with this subject and with this question. There are also other diseases, like, for example, cystic fibrosis or the Huntington disease. Okay, and there are others, but the percentage of people that come to me with proved, a certified genetic disease is very, very small. It's almost non-existent compared with the people that come to me asking if it's possible to cure because it's genetic. This number is huge. So what goes is that it's very rare that a genetic disease creates urticaria as consequence. So there is no genetic urticaria, but it can exist an urticaria that is a symptom, a consequence of a genetic disease. That's possible, but the percentage is minimum. It's almost zero. So this is a bit frightening, because there are so many people convinced that they have genetic urticaria. So even genetic diseases in Chinese medicine, they cannot be cured, but the symptoms can be very, very reduced, very much reduced. Almost, in many cases, they can almost be eliminated. And urticaria is one of those. The case that I have is cured like 70%. The urticaria reduced like 70%, and she still has falciform anemia, So, what happens is a different thing. They say, oh, but my grandmother also had urticaria. My mother has urticaria. My grandmother also had urticaria. So I start with the regular questions and askings that I do on my mentoring and on my appointments. Like, so when you were 6 years old, did you live with your parents? Yes. And how was the environment at home? It was bad. Why? Because my father used to beat on my mother. And why did he do that? Yeah, because he drank too much. He used to drink too much. What was his job? He was a miner. So he could almost not afford anything because the wage and the payment was very, very low. So he got very nervous, very worried, and then that made him to drink. And he used to come home and get aggressive to my grandmother or to my mother. Then I asked, so how about your grandparents? And the same answers. The grandparent was also a miner, you know. For example, iron miners, and they had a minimum wager, you know. So they all were having strong concerns related with money and paying bills. They all have an excessive consume of alcohol. So they all beat on their wives. So the kids were grown watching all this in these tense and aggressive environments. And all the wives were beaten by the husbands. If it was their fault, no. I'm not going to blame them. Maybe these men were victim of the social system that still exists nowadays, and maybe they were explored by their bosses. Maybe their bosses were multimillionaire and explore the employees. So what goes is that this is what I call social genetics, which means that we are speaking of families that were dysfunctional, that worked bad, with bad habits, with aggressive habits, with very bad environments, with worriness, with almost no money, with people that drank too much, and we are speaking about behaviors that are wrong behaviors, no matter who is to blame. I don't blame anybody here. But these problems came from generations ago. The grandparents, then the grandparents, then the parents, and now the person. All of them had urticaria. But the problem was common to all generations. So this creates the confusion of the genetic problem. Of course, also, there is urticarias, as I said, that come from genetic diseases. But in the biggest part of the cases, it comes from emotional problems and wrong behaviors that were already installed from many generations ago. So all those people have urticaria. So I think I could explain now what I call social genetic problem. In fact, it's bad emotions that affect the organs of all those peoples. And these bad emotions, negative emotions, already come from many generations because the way that families worked was very wrong since many generations. So don't get worried when you say, when anybody say that you have genetic urticaria, because that's not so simple and that's not the way it works. If you have doubts, please write them here and I'll be glad to answer on Instagram, okay? Kisses for you all and stay safe.